us now to explain why he believes that all people are liars and how to avoid the deception trap is Greg Potterton, who's responsible for Gonzo research at Instant Grass International. Gonzo, I remember Gonzo journalism. Is that where you got the name from?
Absolutely. I mean, it was Hunter S. Thompson who basically coined the phrase, or his editor coined the phrase when he worked for the Boston Globe in the 1970s. It's the ability to put yourself into a first-person narrative. So instead of observing in a kind of objective opinion, you actually become part of the story yourself. And it's our hypothesis at Instant Grass that you really have to get the consumer to be part of the narrative and observe them in a very passive way to understand the truth. Because as per your introduction, everybody lies. There is research out there that indicates that the average person lies between 2 and 3.5 times every 10 minutes. And when you think about it, it is not as critical as that. It's not as bad as it seems.
We're wondering, how have we been lying in the last hour?
In the last hour,
well, I was watching in the Blue Room there, I was watching, and little mistruths. It's little anecdotal stuff that is...
Okay, I'll admit to one, phytotherapy. I said it's a study of plants, and it's not quite that.
Well, I thought it was psychotherapy anyway. So
There we go.
But,
those little mistruths, often there's no malice intended. We're just there to kind of, a lot of times it's to protect the other person. Sometimes it's to embellish or to articulate a point. A great example, and I do this all the time, is when you meet somebody, the first thing you say is, very nice to meet you. I did it with you guys. Nice to meet you. I don't know.
you didn't enjoy meeting us?
I enjoyed the
Thank you,
handshake.
really.
The handshake was great.
I'm not lying. We're really nice people.
But as
What his
kids,
cook says.
as kids, we condition. Believe it or not, I mean, you talk about the Easter Bunny, Father Christmas. Our parents tell us all these type of things. The Tooth Fairy. Go and tell your grandmother that she gave you a lovely gift. Go and thank her for the beautiful gift that you always wanted. We encourage people to tell mistruths. And of course, absolutely no malice intended. But once you start talking research and you have big data, metadata that's a buzzword at the moment, or even one-on-one interviews, people will mislead you unintentionally. So the Gonzo research, as I said earlier, is getting the actual person in a very participatory way to give you the narrative, often very subjective. Often you need to validate it with some sort of quantifiable research, but it's really the human truth that we're looking for, those insights. And that, in my opinion, can only happen if you remove that contamination of traditional research and get beyond the lies.
So how do you do that?
Well,
Make Alec and I tell the truth.
there's a lot of methodologies. First of all, you have to create a very, very intimate friendship with the respondent. In our business, we call them grasses, grass being an old colloquial term for informing or snitching. You establish a relationship just like you would with a friend. You nurture that relationship. You get to a point where there's trust. You get to a point where you understand the person. We have a database of over 2,500 people over the last 10 years that we've interacted with. They are our friends. They come into our agency. We play table tennis with them. We have a good time. When it comes to interviewing, we then get them on our behalf to go out into their broader networks, into their broader tribes, and do the Gonzo research on our behalf. So there's no client or brand or business interrogating a respondent. It's very much a dialogue between friends.
So that brings a new focus onto the research that was done by Stats South Africa, where they spoke to households and concluded that last year the country created 507,000 jobs,
Right.
which thereafter Stats South Africa had, in a different survey, said, well, actually we created 39,000 jobs. So what you're telling us is unless those researchers were very well trained, it's unlikely that they would have got the truth from the respondents.
Well, absolutely. Every research methodology, including our own, is open to some element of skew. Now, if you ask somebody, are you working? A good chance they will say yes, regardless of maybe it's once a week, maybe it's twice a week, maybe it's a part-time job, maybe on a fixed temp basis. But you really have to get behind that superficial response and ask the why to get to the real truth. It doesn't replace huge metadata. It's just a way of making consumers a bit more, well, talking to consumers as human beings as opposed to data points. I think as business, we've kind of distanced the consumer from the process. We've put them at the end of the value chain and said, let's create a project or a product. Let's do a whole bunch of efficiencies, maximize our KPIs, and at the end, sell it to whoever wants it.
Yeah.
This is a matter of bringing the consumer into the forefront of the process, every part of the business process, and getting them to collaborate, to tell us the truth. And essentially, marketing or business is easy. Get people to tell you what they want and give it to them.
You did this research at MIT, I was reading.
I didn't do the research. The
research came from
the
MIT.
research came from MIT. A gentleman by the name of Robert Feldman. He did it in a sample of about 200 people, and he got people 10 minutes of interviewing, just like this, have a chat to each other. They recorded it. Afterwards, they sat and analyzed it together. They said, how often do you think you lied? Obviously, everybody told a lie and said, I didn't lie. They then, once they looked at the footage, realized that they told at least one lie. When they analyzed it and broke it down, they realized it was actually one lie plus 2.93 mistruths. And it's really those mistruths, those little white lies.
How do we check them? Because we do this every day.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got guys like you sitting there.
I'm actually looking at you wondering if you lie.
Yeah.
I've set myself up here, haven't I?
But give us some hints. I've got quite a lot of training in this field that I can see what the, moving to the left with the eyes, etc.
Right.
Folding arms, etc. Where people are lying. But give us some help here so that next time we get a liar in the studio,
yes,
we can sort
you can tell. I'm not trained in the traditional ethnographic studies like that, but I can give you some case studies in terms of how we've identified, we've highlighted lies and created opportunities out of that. We did a great campaign for Levi Strauss Global. They said, young African women don't like our brand, they don't like our product, they don't like our garment. They had traditional research that said, listen, these are the likability scores, they're very low, perceptions are likability is high, but perceptions are bad. We said, well, that doesn't make sense to us, let's go and film these girls shopping. Every single girl walked into Levi's and said, I love Levi's, I'm a Levi's girl, and I own those garments. They went in, tried the garment on.
Doesn't fit.
Doesn't fit. Why doesn't fit? Because as they sat down, and this is exactly what it was, they sat down and every single girl pulled their waist up like that. And there was that 5 centimeter hip gap between the hip and the waist. The African women are so proud of. Obviously, Levi Strauss.
You know what they call them, Alec? ATMs, African trademarks.
There we go. There we go. And the insight, the human truth was that the women, African women, love to showcase their assets. And we only realized that by the non-verbal cue of somebody sitting down and that gap, it was just a 5 centimeter gap. As a result of that, we went and we sat with a new product development team and we created a great new garment for Levi Strauss, and it went on, was exported to San Francisco and became one of their second best lot selling numbers.
Brilliant.
So if you asked somebody, do they like Levi's, they would have said yes. Do you wear the garment? They would have said yes. But the reality is it doesn't fit.
Great, good stuff. Thanks.
Great.
In our industry, we get lots of research based on lies. I remember once the Financial Mail advertising the 375,000 top business leaders. Read our magazine. That was Greg Potterton, responsible for Gonzo research at Instant Grass International.